Ladies and gentlemen, I am SidAlpha, and I came across 3 different topics today that piqued my interest, but this one I wanted to talk about first and foremost because, well, let's face it gives me a chance to climb up on a soapbox. And followers of my channel know that I find it difficult, actually well nigh impossible, to leave a soapbox lacking being stood upon. As that is the case, the concerns raised by some of the developers that have commented on this issue have brought about a couple of interesting thoughts that I wanted to share with everyone. Also, there won't be many sources used in this video, but links to anything I do use will be down in the description below. This particular subject I'll be referencing from a PC Gamer article titled "Writers Guild of America Scraps Its Video Game Writing Award," with the subline of, "It claims there aren't enough games that qualify." The title itself is accurate, however a bit misleading, so let's give things a bit more context. Now, the Writers Guild of America holds an annual awards ceremony titled simply the Writers Guild Awards. These are awards that are based upon submissions made by writers that must be members of the union that are then considered and voted upon, meaning that in order for any written work to be submitted, the writer in question must be a member of the Writers Guild of America union. And as that is the case, the Writers Guild of America has decided to scrap the category for outstanding achievement in video games writing due to too few games qualifying. Neil Druckmann of Naughty Dog posted on Twitter, quote, "Very disappointed at the WGA for removing the video game category from their awards. A misguided slap in the face for writers in games." Now, in addition to this news, it turns out that video game writers could never become full-fledged members of the union, even though they were expected to still pay union dues. This means that video game writers would not even be able to vote on submissions from others in their field. Josh Scher, one of the co-writers of Uncharted 4, wrote, "An incredibly short-sighted move on the Writers Guild of America's part. There is currently no way for a game writer to become a full-fledged WGA member, so if their excuse is not enough studios or signatories are working with their union writers, well..." And in addition, Chet Falajek also posted on Twitter, "I've never joined the WGA and never will. To win this award, you have to be a member. When they asked us to join so we could win, we could pay dues, but not vote because game writing isn't real writing, not like having a short story published in a zine read by 12 people. Now, listen, I know I'm going to be doing little more than preaching to the choir here, but sometimes this sort of thing still has to be said. And I think that the way the Writers Guild of America has treated and is continuing to treat video game writers is flat out wrong. They don't treat it as real writing, and nothing could be further from the truth. Now, I know that regardless, the number of submissions for this past year would be slim pickings at best, what with only more popular video games being the ones that would likely to be submitted or even considered. And let's look at what we had this year in terms of larger video games with story elements. Metro Exodus, Anthem, Borderlands 3, Greedfall. Metro Exodus is rather bland, Anthem was a joke, Borderlands 3 wasn't even a funny joke, and Greedfall is about as bog standard in terms of story as you can get. The fact of the matter is, the larger games industry has done its best to move away from story elements in video games, and the reason for that is it is much more expensive to create the game, and you can't turn a story into macrotransaction monetization, and even if they did figure out a way to do that, it would 1. Completely fail, 2. Cause monumental outrage, and 3. Still cost far more than the sad array of skins and sprays that provide people with now. It really does make me feel like an old gamer, what with the constant references of, "I remember when." And that's somewhat dangerous, as nostalgia can cast a very rosy tinge over the memory of even mediocre video games, making them seem far more palatable in memory than they actually were. Unfortunately, in this case, it's a pretty valid stance to take. Yes, there have still been some good stories in recent memory. Dad of Boys springs to mind from 2018, and Senua's Sacrifice in 2017. Journey and Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons as well, although those are a bit older, coming out in 2012 and 2013 respectively. And you'll also note that those video games depict very different methods of telling a story and also extremely different styles. There are more things in heaven and earth, Horatio, than are dreamt of in your philosophy. That's from another great writer that hopefully some of you might have heard of, and while the character Hamlet meant that even educated people can sometimes explain very little, I'm using it here to mean both that the Writers Guild of America is exceptionally narrow-minded in this regard, and also that there are a great many methods and means of telling a story. And in all actuality, few, if any, mediums can even begin to approach the sheer power that an interactive medium can wield. I'm going to use Mass Effect as an example because for me, the overall story arc, with the exception of Mass Effect 3's ending in Andromeda, which might as well not even exist as far as I'm concerned, was an extremely compelling one. We as players invested countless hours into the Mass Effect trilogy, and along with that, there was some extremely well done writing that, along with some great voice acting and a magnificent soundtrack backing them up, created some extremely memorable moments. This included everyone's favorite bro, Garrus, a man that started out as Citadel security, who learned from his comrades and improved himself over the course of 3 games. A character that became more than a mere ally, but he became a confidant and a friend. Who could forget hanging out with Garrus on the Citadel and shooting drink containers with sniper rifles? I remember the emotional impact these characters made on me, and not always a happy note like Morden Solis giving his own life curing the genophage, a character that was brought to us in the second game and still managed to make an indelible impression and was among my favorites. I remember seeing Morden's end actually making me feel a little bit choked up. A video game writing is different than writing for a novel or a short story or even a movie. It does indeed take talent, and a video game writer must be agile and able to take a story in many different directions simultaneously due to the interactive nature of the medium. But that's not really a new concept either, nor is the concept of accompanying stellar writing in a movie format with musical accompaniment and an actor to help bring those words, those emotions, and those ideas to life. Video game writing, if anything, combines the reader's engagement and choice of a choose-your-own-adventure novel with all of the best aspects of the elements we see in movies. And in so doing, video games are uniquely qualified to create a body of work that can be far more compelling than any other entertainment medium in existence due to the combination of all of the best aspects of a movie, with terrific acting that can really convey thoughts, idea, and emotion, with musical accompaniment to further draw out the emotions or thoughts the creator wishes to invoke, along with a story that feels unique to the player because they make the decisions. And when all of those elements come together, it just works, and it is a thing of absolute beauty, a work of art. But we're seeing less and less of such things within the larger games industry with each passing year, as the corporatization of the games industry has largely transitioned the AAA games industry away from being an artistic endeavor, away from being true creative works that can take full advantage of this unique capacity for storytelling that video games possess, and have instead moved them into the realm of formulaic mediocrity. And on top of that, the Writers Guild of America don't even treat video game writers as actual writers. Well, I'm here to tell not only you or myself, but also them that they are real writers, and while this farce of a guild refuses to appreciate them or even respect them for work, I most certainly do. I would like everyone willing to do something for me. Think of a video game that had a story or a character that you really enjoyed, really related to, and let me know what that game was down in the comments. Actually, better yet, reach out to the writers on social media and tell them that they're appreciated for what they do and what they have created for all of us. Because whether you felt like laughing, or maybe crying, or even jumping at fright, for each time you ran into a companion character that left an impression on you, or a story that you related to, every time you hated the antagonist of a game and it drew you in, wishing to see the mission through, just to stop them, remember, it all started with an idea on a page. And that idea was first given true form by a video game writer. And for that, they deserve our appreciation. And once again, ladies and gentlemen, I am SidAlpha, and I'll see you next time.